Peg Larson here and John Call. Session has finally come to an end, or maybe it has come to an end, but the education portion has come to an end. I don't believe that they would ever open that bill unless he would decide that he didn't like things that were in it. He being the governor. The governor did get $25 million for pre-K in addition to what is already out there for pre-K. That was his condition at the end, and he did succeed in getting that. And a few of the other highlights I'm actually going to read to you so that I get them accurate. They put money, obviously, into voluntary pre-K, support our students. So there's money for counselors. There's $12 million in 17, and ongoing funds in the future. Non-metro equity increase of $4 million, staff development aid, and they changed staff development so that the money actually is, I believe, going to come from the state now. Northwest Regional Partnership, student teachers in shortage areas have grants. Positive behavioral intervention and supports, got $2,700,000. Parent-child home visits received money. Teacher loan forgiveness, QRIS Parent Aware, Girls in Action grant, MDE for an IT security, which they are, I understand, lacking quite a bit. Teacher-governed schools got money. Adult basic education grants for equity. American Indian Teacher Preparation got grants. QComp Deficiency Fund received $240,000, and that just carries for this year. The GED test received money. A really interesting program called Roch and Read singing-based pilot project received $100,000, and their presentation was quite interesting. Chair Loon really liked it. Chair Erickson did not like it so much, but it did get funded. Headwaters Science Center and Promise Neighborhood, ECFE home visits. And one of the things that they did is last year they gave MDE money for online IEPs, and they were just in the process of putting out the RFPs for that, and they have erased that funding of $1.6 million, so they will no longer be doing that project. I'm going to take a break, John, for a second.
Okay. Remember to put your head back in a similar position.
It's right, I haven't moved it.
Okay.
They also have funded full-service community schools at $1 million, in industrial certificate incentive program, and broadband innovation grants. And some of the other things that they did would be in the higher ed bill, which I thought was interesting. There was quite a bit of discussion about whether the MAC should be accepted or exactly what should be accepted, and what's in higher ed says that they can take the SATs or the ACTs, but they must consider the MAC score. They also have quite a bit of language in the higher ed bill about concurrent education and teachers, and notifying parents in 7th grade that these programs are available for their students. In terms of just regular K-12, they put language in for voluntary pre-K registration or program, early middle college, equity revenue for non-metro districts, food service, disparities report that needs to be done. They did put money into the ACT, SATs. They did a little bit with dyslexia, and one of the interesting things is they did keep the student survey, and the way the survey works now is the parents have to be notified every step of the way and say that it is okay for their students to take that survey. That was a Chair Erickson piece, and they had pared it back a little bit, but not a lot. The civics test is in the bill in terms of the holidays for Constitution Day and a few other holidays that we don't, normally celebrate with a day off or whatever. But on those days, the children must take the civics test, equivalent to the test that the people want to become American citizens take. And my son-in-law took it. I can tell you it's pretty tough. I think they probably will pare that back a little bit when the revisor gets it. Teacher licensure name changes and access to teachers in terms of equity for trying to get teachers of minority to come in, become teachers. They also put in a piece for teachers to come in from other states with not provisional licenses, but professional licenses granted at 1 year at a time. And other pieces would be some of the health disability pieces, and that's how far I have gotten in the education piece of the supplemental budget, which is House File 2749. It is online, and I'm sure John and I will do another update if anything changes or if anything actually glares out that I have stepped over, which I would apologize, but it has been a long, well actually it's been a short session, but a very intense session. As always, appreciate working for all of you and fighting for the students' rights in Rochester. Thank you.
Greetings. Well, the legislature outperformed even last year when it came to dysfunction and lack of transparency. They remind me of the Bourbon dynasty. They learned nothing from what happened last year and forgot nothing they learned from their mistakes last year. So many really unfortunate things. The House operated basically in a hermetically sealed vault. There was only room in the Capitol for 253 people, so hardly any public could ever get in there. You had to have a pass, and limited number of news people could get in, and no lobbyists could get in to watch the proceedings, to communicate with legislators, pass notes in, talk to them in the hallway. So that was really a bad decision to operate in the Capitol while that remodeling was going on. They had other options. The supplemental bill, these massive bills they put together with 5 massive areas of state finance. The Senate had a 600-page bill. It creates a concentration of power that is very unfortunate. I personally would not campaign for 9 months, raise a lot of money in order to end up having 3 or 4 people make all the decisions that were important about state spending and state policy. Something's got to be done about that. The biggest example of how this ran amok was the bonding bill. Neither the House or the Senate could pass a bonding bill in their own right, so they appointed a conference committee to 2 dead bonding bills, and the bonding bill emerged literally at 11:30 on the night of adjournment, with the deadline being 12 o'clock. This is not a way to run a legislative process. So you had $1 billion bill. No one knew, because of the cone of silence, what was in the bill. They produced a spreadsheet you could scan very quickly, but there was no language attending the numbers, so you didn't really know what they did. And the legislature almost passed that. Half of me, wishes they would pass a bonding bill, and the other half of me makes me wish that the lack of the passage of the bonding bill will create an outcry for improvements in the process and very significant reforms. So this bad process, in addition to producing bad legislation and bad policy, couple that with unreasoning partnership, and the bad is driving out the good. And the best example of that is the fact that very excellent legislator from Rochester, Kim Norton, is tired of that and is stepping down. And it's a great loss, not only for Rochester, not only for the public school system in Rochester, but for the state. So I just hope people are going to put pressure on the legislature to make some reforms so we don't have this kind of thing going on into the future. There has to be deadlines for when you're going to produce targets. There has to be conference committees that actually meet and exchange offers in a public setting. And this process of just having a hearing, laying a bill on the table, never voting it up or down, and leaving it to the chairman to determine what the final bill is, all these things have to change. So on that cheery note, Peg and I are going to continue to look through the bills, and if and we'll give you a final report, because there might be a few other clinkers or opportunities in there. But we were brain dead for the last 2 days, and we're just recovering now. But you'll hear from us one more time. Thanks for your forbearance.